Today I like to cover a top 10 list of games, of video games. I am not the comic guy. I don't just cover this comics, but other stuff as well. Anyway, yes, you heard me. I'm covering a video games top 10 list. But what top 10 list are we covering? Well, top 10 characters that, for all intents and purposes, we exactly knew that, that was obviously known that it was entirely true about that character. Of video game characters, they're not really much of the focus of the story of the game, but most so of the pretty much characters are involved with a protagonist. Either it's characters that were mostly involved with the protagonist, but not anymore, or were characters that are still involved with the protagonist, but in different roles, in different releases after they were appeared as their own character in their own way, or at times both. These are the top 10 characters part of a protagonist, but for some reason had certain things about them that are and need to stay true. Number 10, Cranky Kong. Him being the original Donkey Kong. Okay, so allow me to explain this very easily and less complicated. So the original arcade Donkey Kong games are in fact Mario's debut games. However, some may surprise you that the original Donkey Kong is not the modern version. According to what I found, the original Donkey Kong from the arcade games is Cranky Kong. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The opening for the first game, where we actually physically see him as just that, Donkey Kong Country, the first Donkey Kong Country, where he's on pretty much a platform that's very similar to the original arcade release of Donkey Kong from, the arcade. And he's playing the main theme of the original Donkey Kong of that game. But here comes the more modern Donkey Kong from his introduction, pretty much dropping on Cranky to play his whole cool hip-hop music. And also he mentions a couple of times of throwing barrels. Nice. But this low on the list because it's the only one, surprise surprise, that's not used for theory or speculation. Big surprise there. Number 9. That was actually been his name from the entirety when he sits in the timeline. Phone Guy, FNAF 1. Maybe we're wondering what makes this on the list. Well, for a while, there has been the biggest question that makes understandably that has been answered up until much currently is Phone Guy's actual name. According to the guy, there is a book called The Week Before, and unlike other books in this series that, Flash Threats and Tales, this one follows the Silverize type of stuff, or it actually has canon information from the games. So we can actually fit this with the Silverize of being part of FNAF canon. But unlike the Silverize, it's entirely based on Phone Guy in The Week Before, as mentioned in the very first night in FNAF 1, which was reused a couple of games later. We get back to that. Anyways, one of the things that you notice when you find information about this book is Phone Guy's actual name. It's just Ralph. That's been true for years, that William Afton and him and William Afton are not the same character. Besides what people try to believe. This is because of the FNAF movie, kind of doing a reference as Easter egg of the theory. So yeah, Phone Guy's actual name is Ralph. Don't worry, we're getting back to one more entry in the FNAF series. Just you wait. Number 8.
Sorry.
Number 8. It always has been that way. Sonic the Hedgehog series. Might be wondering what makes this part of the list. Well, it has to do with Tails the Fox. That he always has been and always will be Sonic's sidekick. Nothing else. Yeah, I'm not gonna explain it there. You can probably guess that there's another YouTuber that actually doesn't think so. So let's move on. Number 7. These guys are never have been, always will stay as retcon as not being Bowser's kids.
Wait.
Yeah, it's another thing in Mario Tree, this time his own game series themselves. I'm talking about the Koopalings, and that they originally was introduced as Bowser's kids. However, that's been changed because of Bowser Jr. being retconned for the fact that Bowser's kids is that the Koopalings are no longer Bowser's kids. And that seems to always now be the case. Number 6. This thing has always been true part of the series. The Mortal Kombat games. Ah yes, one entry of Mortal Kombat. So why am I putting this on the list? Well, it has to do with the character of Sindel. For images purposes, I only show you pictures of screenshots of her select screen. for obvious reason. Anyway, it has to do with the character herself. And that the fact that, that she was retconned in the 11th main entry as being evil. That's not true at all. She was good and was sent into being mind controlled. That always and should have been the case even up until that point. But no, she was retconned in the 11th entry of being evil. Thankfully, in the next entry, the most current game in the series, changed her to being good. Number 5. This has always been true in the series. This has always been true in this one entry in the series, FNAF 4. And here we're back with another entry in the FNAF games. If you want an explanation, it's the whole point that the crying child always and has been confirmed to be the protagonist in FNAF 4, aka Evan Afton, and that he was both protagonist in the mini games and gameplay. And that this was the only time we ever seen as protagonist. If you want more details, check the video down below displaying the FNAF 4 protagonist type of thing. Number 4. Number 4. Similarities at times equal competition. Sonic the Hedgehog games. And we once again enter another early entry on the list, being the Sonic the Hedgehog games. Specifically, how Shadow was usually once depicted as a rival of Sonic, but now, it's more of a cult. At times can actually help Sonic. Now we'll move on to the next entry. Now we'll move on to the final entries this time. Number 3. This guy has been missing in action. The arcade Donkey Kong games. And now we're back to Mario's debuts of his own games. That being the case of Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. unfortunately only appeared in a couple of games by Mario standards. His own game, but Donkey Kong Jr., the first Mario Kart, Mario Tennis on the Virtual Boy, seen as the worst consoles of all time for obvious reasons, as well as another Mario Tennis game on the Nintendo 64. After that, barely anything. Yeah, this explains itself, so I'm not gonna elaborate too much on it. Number 2. This thing is always there and always will be there. Mario series. An interesting point that Mario was always the hero and trying to save the princess. Yeah, link in the description to my other video that I have linked in the description. It's whole debunking the Mario is mental type of stuff, as well as Rosary and Unmasked. Now then, we get to number 1. Number 1. And this is a new non-rated entry on the list. Or, not really, but it is a new entry. Number 1. This group of people know better. Poppy Playtime, the first chapter. Yeah, it's a whole, the news and trying to explain, of, and that whole thing about Huggy Wuggy. Anyway, that was the top 10 entries on the list. I'm at the Comic Guy. See you next time for Explain History of a particular character because of a certain movie he has coming out. So, see you next time. Bye.